Hey guys, how's it going? So this is going to be mostly a rant. I was browsing and I just saw one of the most disgustingly manipulative videos I've ever had the displeasure of watching. Like, holy hell. I'll let it mostly speak for itself. Just know that this comes from a pretty major content creator. You've probably seen him here and there. Chris Pratt from the People Make Games channel. And in this, he's going off on some delusional nonsense against Gamergate and just normal, regular people voting with their wallets while promoting an event directly targeted against us and the industry. Some people have already reacted to this. It's a quick 2-minute plus video, but I couldn't help but just cut loose responding to it and calling out all the bullshit in this. Let's not waste any time and just get into it.
Everything's f***ed.
Ooh, edgy boy starts the video with an F-bomb. Doesn't even wait 2 minutes to clear up so YouTube doesn't nuke the monetization for the video. Very impressive. I can't wait for the rest of the video. I'm sure it's going to be based.
Reformer on the rise, Trump has been crowned the God King of America, and across so much of the world, it feels like the far right have been able to very successfully position themselves as this necessary force of change for a broken system.
What the hell does any of this garbage have to do with gaming?
And the system is broken, that bit's absolutely true, but the promises made by the likes of Farage or Maloney or Le Pen are just false.
Again, why is this even being brought up? Also, the system is broken, so that much is acknowledged at least. Now, who broke it? If these right-wing politicians are selling fake promises, then what's the solution? Keep voting for the morons who are actively breaking it? The hell's this video for anyway? Trying to tell people who to vote for?
The great barrier between us and a better world isn't immigrants, it's not trans people, it's not wokeism or wind farms, it's inequality, it's hate-mongering, and increasingly, it's fascism.
This dude really just used this clip of Elon Musk to push this dumb narrative again? I guess this is gonna be one of those kinds of videos, fellas. Hold on tight. Also, goddamn dude, solve these issues and we're at least one step closer to a better world immediately, or at least a better country. Solve illegal immigration and bam, you immediately get a safer and more organized country. Will there still be crime, poverty, corruption and other problems? Absolutely, of course it will, but at least that's one less problem to worry about. And again, Good lord, why are we on this? Why is this being brought up in the context of the games industry? Even on its own, this doesn't stand up to scrutiny. Like, I hear this nonsense argument so often these days, even in my country. Because we're going through a bit of a crisis with illegal immigration ourselves. We literally cannot sustain it because even though, our country likes to flex as a rich country, we really aren't. Most of us live on a paycheck-to-paycheck basis, and a single curveball to our lives, like a car breaking down or a leak in the house or something, is enough to screw us over for a few months. And our government also, in terms of getting stuff done, incredibly slow, incredibly incompetent. But just like in America and Canada, we have our own brand of really stupid progressives who can't think beyond which hair dye to use next, and they like to come out of the gate with, oh, this won't solve all these other issues, the country is still cooked. Baby boy, I don't care if this only solves about 10% of our problems, at least that's one less problem to have. At least that's 10% less of an issue to contend with in our day-to-day. And I always hear so much about inequality from these types, but they never appear to show people any actual examples of this inequality in action. At the end of the goddamn day, they can't produce a single material thing that they cannot do and that someone else that they deemed privileged can. In fact, they advocate for inequality through programs which are literally built on discriminating people based on their immutable qualities. Equality is equality. It's not you get an apple and I get an apple because you got one. It's we both have the ability to go out there and get those apples regardless of what the hell we look like. Then he says that it's hate-mongering and increasingly it's fascism, coincidentally with some crap burning on the middle of the street in the footage that he's using. Remind me again, who are the retards burning shit down all the time lately?
But what does that have to do with games? Well, you saw Gamergate happen, you've seen the vitriol that game developers still receive today if they dare to include stories that are deemed to include too much DEI politics.
Finally, we got to the gaming part, and he's already getting shit wrong. First of all, yes, we saw Gamergate. What about it? What does it have anything to do with the cringe load of political bullshit that you just passed on around the screen? Gamergate was about ethics in games journalism and the pushing of false narratives, often by these game journalists with the intent of co-opting video games to either push political messaging or to make changes to existing content such as censorship based off of ideological nonsense that activists like Anita Sarkeesian and so many others these days believe or enforce based on their own personal nonsense. Ideological nonsense that doesn't hold up to any scrutiny because it's based on emotionally manipulative reasoning and arguments. It doesn't actually make games better, it doesn't actually help anyone, it doesn't actually bring any goddamn money in. This is all really quite simple and has fuck all to do with politics. Gamergate is a pushback against politics and adjacent ideologies from poisoning the industry and bringing with it corporate programs and initiatives from which companies can even profit from by injecting changes or additions to games that play to those politics and ideologies, such as, yes, ESG and DEI. People like this clown are the ones who have made it political by taking what is essentially normal gamers with no such affiliations in mind and labeling them as chuds or, as this moron does in this video, fascists. Just another f***ing retard either blatantly lying about garbage that's been disproven time and time again or just plainly someone who doesn't know what he's talking about. Listen to this again.
You've seen the vitriol that game developers still receive today if they dare to include stories that are deemed to include too much DEI politics.
First of all, why are you including DEI politics into the goddamn games at all? Like, why is this even a thing that you're actively doing? Why would you want to do this in general if you're just a game developer? Are you not making a game? Second, this isn't even true. There's been games that include these elements one could consider DEI politics for years. For years, dude. And they've always been there and never had any issue coexisting with the rest of us whatsoever. Hell, some of them are even pretty good. I've said before on this channel that I like the Life is Strange games, well, specifically the first two, and especially and specifically that first one. Like, that first one is just unforgettable. It was dope, all the time traveling stuff, all the different realities and shit. I really enjoyed it. It's always existed right there without an issue. In fact, it was very successful, so successful that it spanned a franchise that Square Enix went ahead and milked and turned into a shit show now, but that's neither here nor there, it doesn't really matter. There's an entire universe of quote-unquote these types of games in the cozy genre and beyond. You didn't see people hounding these developers. Wanna know why? Because they were making their own games in their own corners. And I wouldn't even compare these people to the activists in the industry right now doing this shit, because some of these games are actually good games with good writing and good presentation and artistic vision. They just happen to be games made by different people with different ideas, different tastes, and different stories to tell, together with everyone else, including the other ones, the weirdos making simulator games. Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not even hating. I play House Flipper sometimes. I also just bought another one just a few days ago. I bought Gas Station Simulator. I'm gonna play the shit out of that game. All of these different teams, different people together make the video games industry diverse. We don't need activists to do that. The activists do the opposite. They create the problem that we have going on right now, which is that there's a deliberate push to invade other franchises in the AAA space, literally invade franchises that have very specific fan bases that like very specific things, and change them. They invade these spaces and they deem things problematic because of a myriad of stupid reasons. It can be anything. Oh, the fan base is too male. Oh, the games are too white. Oh, the women are too attractive. And then they inject these aforementioned DEI politics from activists who don't even like these franchises or games to begin with, and whose sole missions are to co-opt them for their agendas. We've seen this in detail through consultants like Sweet Baby Inc., and this is the issue. You're coming into a space that isn't yours, a space that you don't even like, a space whose fans you despise and spitefully want to fuck with, and then you complain when the fanbase turns against you for damaging something that they loved. This is so goddamn disingenuous.
To put it simply, there is a part of games culture, our culture, that breeds toxicity and anger and resentment.
Yes! Ask yourself why, you dumb disingenuous fuck. You're essentially breaking into people's houses, caking their walls in shit, telling them that this is it and if they don't like it, they can move, and then you wonder why people are pissed and pushing back hard against it.
We now live in this bizarro world in which Elon Musk, the billionaire backer of Trumpism, can be seen tweeting about Gamergate 2, or the inclusion of a black samurai in Assassin's Creed Shadows, or promising to fund and launch an AI-powered game studio to make games great again.
Yes, Elon Musk likes to play video games. He thinks that it's ridiculous that Ubisoft advertises Assassin's Creed Shadows as a game with, the first historical figure ever in the series and with an additional focus on historically accurate events, and then proceeds to releasing a game filled with inconsistencies and straight up historically inaccurate shit that they got from a fraud's book. And of course, let's not forget the ridiculous presentation of it all, while also trying to sell us that this is the story of the historically accurate legendary black samurai. And lastly, he wants to make a game studio. Well, I don't get it. What's the problem here? Like, what do you want about here, spazzing out with that dumb look on your face with all that Trump and Musk derangement syndrome? Elon Musk isn't a fucking gaming ambassador. Like, he's not being backed up by the Intergalactic Association of Gamers. We're not lining up to buy shares for his AI studio. Fuck, he was even laughed at by a lot of us because of that whole thing with Path of Exile 2. If he wants to open a studio, let him open a damn studio. In the end, his games will be judged by their merits just like anyone else's. Again, we're not here to play preferential politics. You're just scoping and seething because your side, the morons who want to inject their fucking personal baggage and mental illnesses into video games for self-validation, are making trash games with fat budgets that the modern audience just can't cover and turn into a profit. So you get mad and you blame Trump and you blame Musk. Good fucking luck with that strategy here, numbnuts.
We are losing ground here and something needs to be done. That's why we're bringing back the Games Transformed Festival this summer for the third time with a clear question to answer. How do we kick the fash out of gaming? This is going to be a 2-day event held at Pelican House in London on the 11th and 12th of July. It's going to bring together game developers and players and political organisers and whoever else we can think to invite to puzzle over and answer this question. How can the left do something to stop and eventually push back this creep of extremism that's happening in our backyard?
And here is why I told you guys that this video was going to be disgusting. This is a disgusting and blatantly obvious grab for power. This is what the fuck these people want to do, This is what they want, and you can see it clear as day right here. They don't want games to be good. No. That's not the goddamn objective. They want games to be theirs, to belong to them, to only be made and accessible by them, so they can fucking control what you consume. And the degree of delusion necessary for this dude to make this video pretending as if the industry isn't already gripped by the balls by the left is insane. Like, y'all already have the games industry. Y'all already got the entire AAA industry bending over backwards to conform with far left sensitivities and demands to the point where it's hurting their bottom lines. Granted, it's not really working very well, but that's not anyone else's fault. That's your fault for not being able to make any goddamn games. You make Veilguards and Dustborns. These games failing isn't the alt-right. Oh, the alt-right. Oh, here comes the alt-right. Hide under the floorboards. The Austrian painters are coming. These games are failing because they suck, brother. And they suck for many reasons. There's a lot of bad stuff that makes games bad, but a major part of this these days is 100% to do with the way that these companies are captured by ideology, busting their balls to please these morons and activists. How it dictates so many steps in the way that they make their games, how it's necessary to form and shape narratives and stories and design ugly characters that challenge what they call the status quo. And it's not because the status quo is right-wing. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but last I checked, right-wingers don't have a monopoly on good character design or good immersion in games or interesting storytelling or anything at all remotely relatable to good games. They don't have a monopoly on jack shit, let's be honest here. The real right doesn't even like video games. You hear a guy like Matt Walsh talk and he despises the shit out of gamers. He says a lot of accurate stuff sometimes, but when it comes to gaming, he hates it. He'd rather see us all outside working and fucking to bringing more babies into the world. Build a house, till the land, and have more babies, that's it. And that's not to mention all the satanic panic right-wing politicians, and some left ones too, of course, to be fair, of the old days, you know, the ones wanting to ban anything that they deemed too violent, or too graphic, or too demonic, which to some was literally just shit like Pokemon. So no, the status quo in this case is literally just the world being normal, perfectly balanced with common sense, where you make a game like, for example, let's say you make a Dez the Barbarian game, and you play as Dez, a barbarian, and instead of Dez looking like a big buff badass warrior with a, you know, long hair, muscles, heavy black armor, and a big sword who slays beasts and gets the pretty girl at the end, instead Dez is actually a non-binary disabled fat black lesbian of color, and what he gets at the end is he opens an LGBTQ+++ vegan restaurant with his polyamorous asexual trans partner. Because video games must be diverse and challenge the status quo, challenge the norms, challenge beauty standards, challenge heteronormativity, challenge inherently bigoted systems such as fitness and eating meat, and so on and so forth. This is what we already have, this is what we're seeing. Obviously, I use a bit of hyperbole there, of course, but we see the games coming out, we see the direction that these people are headed, we also see how they never stop. There's never like enough diversity or enough inclusion or enough, you know, problematic things being eliminated. There's always more to be injected, there's always more advancements to be made on their quotas, there's always more problems to be found and censor or change or whatever based on their little sensitivities. We see the games that they champion, garbage like Dragon Age Veilguard, Dustborn, Unknown 9 Awakening, Assassin's Creed Shadows and other shit that would be pre-approved by consultants like Sweet Baby Stink. We know very well how this game is played. We know what they want to do, we know what they want to push for. Hell, they admit it themselves by their own words. They want to take over, they want to spread, they want every major franchise out there to represent their shit. And in this video that this moron made, he even says it himself. What they have, all the control that they possess, is still not enough. They want more of it, they want all of it. They want to own this industry, they want to control what you consume. So the state of delusion from this Yahoo over here to try and pretend as if the left doesn't already have the games industry by the balls to the point where it's eating itself alive is astounding. I love the name of this organization and event as well within this context, Games Transformed, as if the fucking games are right-wing and the big top studios are already caked with or consulting with rainbow-haired morons pushing for far-left ideology, as if the only transformation that this industry really needs right now wasn't to have the balls to distance itself from talentless politically obsessed freaks and just make good content again. Oh, and of course whenever normal people like us vote with our wallet, then it's fascist. Yeah, we're all just fascists. Like, how dare we want good fucking content again from the AAA space, especially when they're making sequels, remakes or reboots of beloved franchises just to ruin them by turning them into tokens that spread their narratives, their messages. Mere vehicles for their propaganda and badges for them to display like, oh, see bigot? Your precious outdated franchise is now updated for the modern audience. It's woke now. How does it feel, bigot? What? What do you mean, am I going to buy it? Of course I'm not going to buy it, you stupid bigot. I don't want to play this garbage. I just want to make you mad. I just want to see you suffer. See, bigot? Dragon Age has always been woke, so of course now, instead of just the average optional gay romance, here's an entire central character whose entire arc is about gender fucking identity. How dare you guys be normal and not buy this? Nah, we must be fought against, you know, the fascists, we must be defeated. Except these people have lost their fucking minds to such an extent that everyone is a fash. They've fallen so far to the left, drank so much of the Kool-Aid, that even center or center-left people are far right to them now. Hell, some people are going to be watching this video, or the original one, and they're not even going to identify as center or center-left or even right. They're just going to watch this and be like, brother, what are you talking about? I just want some good games, because of course that's all that we fucking want. You think I give a shit about politics? Think I give a shit about talking about any of this? I never cared about any of this shit. I never cared until it was brought in front of me, until it invaded our space in the games industry. It's so ridiculous how they want to push this narrative, they want to force this, like they're creating their own problem is what I'm trying to say here. They're fighting against the problem that they are creating. They believe that they have this issue in the industry, this rise, this sinister rise of fascism in the industry, in the game space, and they don't even understand or realize that it's them who put it there, and how deluded they are in their minds to think that it's actually that, like just a few people just want to play some fucking normal video games without left-wing ideology shoved into it, or any other kind of ideology for that matter. All of us, we're just fascists now. We're Austrian painters just marching down the fucking street. Ridiculous. They don't even realize that they have people who used to be left-wing, people who used to be progressive, turning against them because the left ran so far to the left, so far into unhinged, intrusive shit that it abandoned them. Also, unrelated but a bit of a pet peeve of mine, why is the left supposed to have a goddamn iron fist over gaming? Why is the left supposed to push the right out of games? Like, do you see what I'm saying here? Why can't games just be games and we keep the goddamn politics out? Because that's the number one thing that Gamergate advocates for. It's to get freakazoids who think that games are supposed to be about them, represent them, and push their ideas and worldviews onto the rest of the world via boring-ass, terribly written narratives and characters in the games out of the medium. Or, to be as accurate and fair as possible here, out of positions of power and influence in the medium. You guys can play games. Hell, you can make games. But the problem is that these people never do so out of their own pocket. This is such a major issue with the narrative and with the industry. Usually, if you're gonna start a studio, you're going to start it, you're going to make a game, you're going to be wary of your resources, your budget, your staff, your potential player base, etc. Like, if you're gonna make a game of niche appeal, you will not want to spend a ton of money on it because you may not see a return on it. A lot of these modern audience-centric games are of niche appeal, and that's me being nice because what we've seen happen time and time again is they inject this garbage into big major franchises already dealing with genres with high appeal, and franchises too, like for example Soy Squad, it was a superhero action looter shooter type of game. Veilguard was an action RPG in a well-known fantasy franchise, so on and so forth. And then these games flop because you let activists run the asylum and they drive it into the floor. There's other reasons, of course, there's way more, and there's a way that it happens too. I know that me just saying this like this can come across as disingenuous or uninformed or not based in facts, but I'm not about to turn this into a 2-hour-long video to explain why. Look through my channel, there's videos explaining exactly why. But anyway, back to the thing. So, saying that they're of niche appeal is already a damn kind assessment, but these activists making these games don't have to, for lack of a better word, live and die by their work, right? They're not starting their studios and making their own games and then, either going bankrupt or succeeding based off of their work. They are injecting their niche modern audience garbage into massive franchises from huge companies with safety nets, or smaller companies who don't have safety nets and then end up in real trouble. If they fail, it doesn't even matter, they're not going to get fired, it doesn't affect them, they remain employed, or in the case of consultants, it doesn't even matter because they charge for their consulting, so they already got their bags and it doesn't matter if the game's flopped or not. This is a massive flaw of this entire little system, and it is inherently unfair too. Where's the equality in this situation? Since equality is so important to these types, where the hell is the equality in having a consultant company screwing over games and carrying with their little cashola unaffected, or activists in studios failing and staying on board while the companies undergo layoffs and project cancellations, or getting fired but failing upwards and landing positions in major studios regardless? Where's the fairness with actual indie game developers and smaller studios out there who figuratively live or die by the quality of their work and decision making? Where's the fairness in situations like what happened with Unknown 9 Awakening, or the other one, Flintlock Siege of Dawn, where Sweet Baby Inc. comes in, fucks everything up, and now these studios are in hot water. In fact, one of them closed down. Where's the fairness in this shit? Who's gonna take accountability for it? Then we get yahoos like this guy trying to demonize everyone, blame everyone else, everyone is a fash, but he doesn't have the humility or the shred of intelligence to look around and see just what the fuck is going on in the games industry. Granted, why would he? He's not really a gamer, not anymore. If he ever was, now he's just a fucking soy boy with a gaming themed politics channel. And again, why is the left supposed to be ruling over it all? Following this mindset, why not the right? Do you honestly think the fucking left is the default go-to good guys for the history of the goddamn planet? Ideally, the industry should be free from influence of either side. But going by his little fucking video here, why is the left so good? Why are they so inherently good? Like, do you seriously hold that delusional belief after the way that the left has been behaving the past few years? Censorship, vandalism, violence, arson, supporting child transitioning, enforcement of speech, trying to convince all of us that, yep, there's totally a spectrum of infinite genders and you betcha, children are supposed to go to school and learn them as if they're learning literature or science or math, no matter how much it's screwing up their little heads, despite the cold hard fact that 99% of those kids would never have any issues with gender dysphoria whatsoever. At best, this is indoctrination, at worst, it's grooming. Let's keep going though, supporting trans women with clear advantages over biological women in official competitions. It's not even just sports, like of course you have the right to do sports, but in official competitions? It's unfair! But can you say that blatantly obvious statement? Of course you can't. You're labeled as anist or a phobe. Let's continue though, supporting the right and capability of a child consenting to gender change drugs and procedures, burning fucking electric cars because autistic Tesla man bad, the goddamn media, not even just the games media, which is even worse, but the news media itself lying to people. Like, are you fucking delusional, my dude? You need to check yourself into a mental hospital if you genuinely think that the left hasn't gone too far lately. Take a second from your insanely scripted video and ask yourself, why is it that Trump won the election? He didn't roll a 20 in Dungeons and Dragons, he was voted for. Overwhelmingly so. Ask yourself why the same kind of thing is happening in other countries of the world. Like, for the love of God, man, take a second to take it all in around you and see what is happening and why it's happening, and then ask yourself genuinely if you do not believe that the left has taken things just a little bit too far lately. But they're selling false promises. Then come up with better ones instead of supporting the same shit. Again, look around. The left lost an election so bad that if there was another one right now, despite all of the crap that's been going on over the past few months, with Americans worrying about tariffs and etc., they would still lose. Because ever since then, whenever the DNC gathers, it just looks like a goddamn meme festival as representatives walk up on stage and drone on and on and on about identity bullshit that the majority of normal people are already tired of hearing about and can't even remotely relate to. Just keep that shit between yourselves and your therapists and tell us what the fuck it is that you're going to do for us in terms of policies that actually matter, rather than more of this retarded shit that's been getting pushed over and over and over for the last 10 years. Like, we get it already. You're gay. We don't care. Move on.
There'll be talks and panels, but also games to play and role-playing workshops designed to tease out lessons that we can then try and apply to this incredible hobby of ours.
'Cause we're boring! We're so fucking boring!
Tickets are now available online, and if you're watching this video on YouTube, you should find a link to that in the description below. The Fash are back, and now they know how to use Discord and stream on Twitch, and we should probably start thinking about ways to deal with that.
Yeah, ban them off Discord and Twitch. I mean, hey, some unhinged moron who writes for Vice and who hooked up a plug to Fall Guys to goon while playing the game, by the way, yes, writes for the massive media news outlet Vice, just tried to cancel Kershaw and get her deplatformed and dropped by her sponsors, resulting in a monumental failure. But hey, you're welcome to keep trying while continuing to make yourselves look bad. No skin off my back. I don't even know what this event is for. It's just to profit off of people, posture around and virtue signal. This is what the Game Developers Conference already looks like. This is what they do. They organize panels on how to push more diversity and other shit like that in games, how to turn games political, etc. Here's some screenshots of this stuff going by on screen. I do know why he opened the video with an F-bomb though, you know, this is just a promotion for his event. The real cheese in the Parmigiano is in the tickets, not in this video. Like, if you're a Wokey, you may as well just go to GDC and gather around there to listen to all of these panels. You know, some of your favorite game industry legends may even show up, like Kim Belair from Sweet Baby Inc. She's still getting invited to these kinds of events where she does, you know, one or two things, play the victim or go on about her work, you know, just accidentally ending up literally admitting to all the shady shit that she lied about not doing. This girl and her crew straight up cannot help themselves but to come out and tell people exactly how they're coercing and intimidating their ways into working on games.
Go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want.
And if I can't sell them on, hey, don't do that, I can instill fear by suggesting that once it gets past us, someone else will take them down for this.
So honestly, you may as well just pop by GDC instead of paying extra money for tickets to come to this shit show. I mean, look at this. This looks soy as fuck. But hey, you know, that's just not one man's opinion, one man's suggestion. That's it.
I'm going to be at the Games Transformed. If you can make it as well, I'll see you there. Tickets available.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
Yeah, guys, get your tickets. Don't forget, get your tickets. Let's get some money off of some gullible morons and set up a dumbass event to teach people how to make worse games and how to employ the cancel culture online better. Gotta get those fascists out of the games. There's something these people just don't get. The people holding the money aren't playing to a stupid-ass political party. We aren't campaigning here. We just don't like dog-shit games, and dog-shit games is all that ideologues are capable of doing. We're tired of being told what to play. We're tired of being told we're this or that if we don't like it. Like, the fuck do I care about what this moron said in this video? Getting the fascists out of gaming, like, the fuck does that even mean anymore? It means nothing. Being a fash in gaming is literally just looking at Veilguard or Dustborn and going,
what the fuck is this piece of shit?
and choosing instead to spend money on stuff like Black Myth Wukong or Stellar Blade or Expedition 33 or the upcoming Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers, etc. Basically games that aren't pushing for activism with their narratives or dialogues or stories, etc. This is what people in the industry should actually be on the lookout for, having their creative freedom compromised by these fucking parasites. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very concerned about this aspect of things because we may be happily celebrating a game like Expedition 33, for example, or Stellar Blade, and rightfully so. I mean, they're fantastic games, they're fun to play, and they're just immersive and passionate projects without an inkling of ideology being forced by some external consultants or activists or whatever trying to turn a piece of artistic expression into a vehicle for contemporary divisive propaganda. But the thing is, as you make money in this industry, your studio grows, your band grows, and then you start inviting in the same kind of thing that has seeped into the AAA studios through corporatization, having to adhere to crap like ESG, having to meet certain quotas, so on and so forth. And of course that's not all. You also become a target of this disgusting far-left biased news media that's been antagonizing gamers and pulling underhanded shit with their reporting, such as awarding terrible agenda-driven games like Veilguard with 9s out of 10s despite knowing how much the game sucked that they literally wrote in their review that, oh, if we never see Dragon Age again, at least it goes out in a bang. Like, of course, that makes total sense, doesn't it? A 9 out of 10, a return to form for BioWare, not being immediately capitalized on with expansions, and a sequel by a money-grubbing company like EA. Sure, yeah, of course, sure. And then, of course, looking at a game like Wukong and giving it a 6 while also writing articles plastered with lies about it, like the huge IGN article that was shared by dozens of other news outlets calling the developer sexists, and doing so with mistranslated statements that were deliberately done to show the studio and its developers in the worst light possible. They never corrected or apologized for this even after it was debunked. Or the other big .esports article saying that the game was dangerous because it was amassing a toxic far-right fanbase because the game wasn't diverse at all, and was also sexist because there's no women in the game, despite there clearly being women in it. Did this prick apologize? Did he correct his article? Of course he didn't. They just left their shit up online as it was. How these people never get sued? I'll never know. You grow too much in this industry and you become a target of this disgusting media setting bars for what is adequate and inadequate for your games to contain. And they're so extreme with it that if you're lacking, you don't just get kind of ignored and not advertised or, you know, like a lower score number. No, you get a whole damn witch hunt going after your game, developers in your studio, or even your fanbase. And as a creator, you can't even say anything, you can't freely interact with your fanbase. There are certain elements in your fanbase that you are forbidden from being in contact with. There's content creators that you can't associate with or work with because they're forbidden. You can also see it with what's happening with Moon Studios CEO Thomas Mahler, better known for his work on Ori and the Blind Forest. This is a dude who just wants to make good, creative games and stay away from any political mumbo-jumbo. He doesn't want restrictions enforced on him, nor does he want to enforce anything on anyone else. He just wants to make games. Yet the media smears him with hit pieces, calling him and his studio a goddamn sexist, a racist, and Nazi, you know, the usual barrage of nonsense. And much like the Kershaw situation, one of the people who is doing a hit piece on him is a disgraceful moron taking blood money from Saudi Arabia. No credibility, no responsibility, no genuine sentiment, nothing. Just another cog in the machine attacking those who don't conform to the agenda, even when it's a guy with an indie studio, proving that not even indie developers are safe. The shit list goes on, and this has me concerned because this sadly still holds a lot of power in the industry. And it's literal bullying, but not to this moron making this video, no. It's all about equality, it's all about fairness and unfairness, it's all about sensitivities and blah 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 blah, but not really. It's all fucking selective. But anyway, that's a whole other matter. Point is, we have blatant examples of this bias in action. This is what Gamergate was and is, the pushback against this bias. This video was only a couple of minutes long, and yet it was disgusting to watch. It's 2 minutes of concentrated, manipulative bullshit that doesn't even acknowledge the tiniest bit of reality. I'd have a lot more respect for this guy and the morons over at People Make Games if they actually acknowledged the reality and just backed it up. Like, at least stand for what you believe in instead of lying and presenting misinformation based in utter delusion just to sell tickets to a group cope session. But anyway, that's about it from me on this one. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care of yourselves out there, and be mindful of manipulative garbage like this. I'll see you on the next video.